Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Today we're going to be taking a look at an update with Don H and new information. Before I do continue, shout out to Cuppy and Pricklebush for becoming members on the channel. I appreciate it, it's good of them to do that. And also it's a key example as well, key thing, because those two people, key people from the past, who've been around for a fair bit during the Kenny Veach mystery and transitioning over to the Dylan Rounds case. So it's interesting to see that how people still follow different mysteries despite, focus on one for so long, moving on to a new one. I'm sure there's background people as well. Also appreciate Cuppy and Misty in the last live stream. That was good, appreciated. So yeah, in recent time, whether it be some people from the Kenny Veach mystery coming over or coming across people within the Dylan Rounds case, shared a few bits of information and ideas between one another. I was speaking with Julie at one point about certain bits with the family and post on Facebook, which I will be covering at some point. And as well, Cleo, or should I say Cleopatra, she, mysterious person, are you watching? So anyway, speaking of mysterious, what about Don H's bloody name? How many names has he gone through? He's gone from Don Hill, Don Hanson, Don Hall, Don Hatley, now Don Hadley. So he's gone through quite a few different names. And Don Hadley is his latest one, as it's supposedly been confirmed. Now, what's gone on since? Well, credit to Black Dove and even Bungee Cord for certain bits of info picked out. Black Dove appeared in a previous live stream when I was covering Don about some bits of info to do with the court and his name. And when I heard about it, it just made me think, oh wait, this could reveal a different theory, concept of the situation between both Don and Jim. So we're going to get right into it now and I'll tell you the bits of info because it is quite key. So to begin with, Don's last name, known as Hadley. It was mentioned that Don was in court recently, and it's been said that his last name was redacted for, I guess, privacy reasons, maybe legal reasons. Could be the standard procedure in a court. But Black Dove did bring up about due to protection from Jim and his team. And it just makes me wonder, why? If Don knows Jim, Jim knows Don, wouldn't Jim know Don's last name anyway? Or was it some kind of secret for all this time, and now because of coming out or something, for whatever reason, being in court, he needs to be protected by Jim because Jim's a dangerous person, despite them two being friends? Maybe there is some kind of power struggle or power situation dynamics in which one person has control over the other, such as Jim being more dominant and Don following along in a way. There's possibility. So yeah, taking that into mind, to tie on to other things, it's been mentioned recently that the FBI contacted Don and interviewed him. And during the interview, Don talked about how Jim reached out to him and requested for guns, black powdered guns, to be stored at Don's place. I don't know why. Could it be for safety reasons, to keep the heat level low? Because this is sounding very similar to what happened with one of Jim's friends. Now, I don't know if it's the same exact person, same exact case. I know I got a little confused in a previous video when I was looking at Chase Venstra, because Chase Venstra stored guns at his place as well. And something about a friend wanting him to store weapons as well. So you see what I'm saying? There seems to be a pattern between different people, different friends, storing guns for one another. So it's like trying to determine who is who. And from the way it sounds, Jim wanting weapons to be stored at Don's place and Jim wanting weapons to be stored at another friend's place when that friend was interviewed. Could that friend in that article at the time been Don all along? You see what I'm saying? Hopefully that isn't too confusing. It's just trying to understand the situation. With Don being asked to store weapons on Jim's command, it's like, did Don have a choice or was he forced to? It's worth taking that into mind. Some additional information was Don's camper, where he lives, is supposedly 5 miles away from Dylan's farm. I don't know if that's exactly true. When I did do that map analysis, the one in the past of Dylan's farm, I was looking around the area. I did see the odd RV parked up, but I don't know if it was exactly 5 miles. I could double check right now. Let me double check right now with you and I'll come back. Okay, so just referring back to Google Earth. Now, they're saying the farm, well, supposedly Dylan's farm is down here and the barn where the grain truck was and the boots was up here. I've not changed the name. I've not updated it, okay, but this is like the barn. Other people called it the shop, which is a bit weird. But if we're just to do the distance briefly of, let's say, the example of this, because from when I was looking in the area, this was one of the key spots I saw the RVs, okay? You see that one? Don't know who it is, it could be Don's. This is outdated, the map footage, so you could argue these RVs have moved since. You never know, people move around. And what we're just going to do very quickly is just measure the distance to get an idea. Just say it to miles, hopefully that works, and we'll just do it rough. There we go. So from those RVs to the barn is about 2.67 miles. To the gate, 2.38. And then to the farm, which is almost like a straight line, is about 7 miles. So it's a little bit over, but maybe it was just like a rough estimate. So that could well be Don's RV, maybe, in this spot here. Because it's kind of near to 5 miles, if you get me. If we do it from there to the barn, that's about just over 5 miles itself. So you get an idea. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. And I'm sure I did see a comment somewhere on one of my previous videos where they were saying Don was living on the land of Dylan's, but they couldn't quite understand why. I guess it depends how it ties in. If Don was working for Dylan at a certain point, then maybe Don did move onto the land for ease of access and just for it to be more practical. Because from what the mother said with one of the interviews with Heavy D's, that there's lots of squatters scattered across the land. So that would make sense. I mean, like, you look at Jim. Jim was squatting on the land in some kind of RV trailer, I think. But that was because he was working for Dylan at the time and, still lives there now. So if Don also lives on that land within like 5 miles, and with Don knowing Jim, that might be how they knew each other, met each other in some way, with being long-time friends, and also being close in proximity of where they live. Jim could have easily gone across to meet Don and say, hey, can you store these weapons for me? Because like how it was said in that past article to that supposed friend, Jim said, right, you got to have these black powdered items, these guns, weapons. I can't hold them because I'm already in trouble from the past. My previous items have been confiscated. The same could happen again, and I don't want to go back to jail. Like that. Whether it be like guilt tripping Don and saying, come on, you got to help me out. We're long-time friends. Don't back out on me now. We're in this together, sort of thing. And then Don feels like, oh, okay, I will. Or there could be a stronger presence with more force behind it. I don't know how old Don is. I can imagine maybe Jim is older than Don. Maybe wrong, but I just sense that. And with Jim being violent in the past, threatening, dangerous person to be around, he might have used that like against Don and said, you're going to store these weapons or we're going to have some serious problems and consequences. And Don's like, okay, I will. You see that, almost like that level of control over him. And that might be why it ties back to the court, with Don's name being redacted for certain privacy reasons and protection from Jim, because, Jim is a threat. Don is under his spell, under his control power. So it's like trying to keep them separated, especially if Don was giving out any information which could incriminate Jim in any shape or form. You don't know. So it's, yeah, interesting. In addition to all that, supposedly it was later disclosed that Jim gave Don a .22 rifle to keep hold of. Jim wanted to keep it around with him because supposedly he got it from a property somewhere in Montello, maybe. It must be Montello, unless it's somewhere in Lucin, another trailer, you know, just an abandoned one. But why? Why did Jim do that? Why would Jim like either trespass or break entry to somebody's home without being allowed to and just stealing something? Well, it's because supposedly the homeowners of that property, that land, RV, owned Jim money. Don't know why they got money from Jim. Could it have been some kind of loan? I didn't think Jim had much money. I didn't know, you know, his situation with where he's working or what he's up to. You know, was squatting on the land. But for whatever reason, homeowner borrowed money off him, probably couldn't pay it back or forgot to, or didn't want to. So Jim went to their place and took something he wanted, which is a gun. Maybe it's because he is really into guns, so he just wanted to keep it because it might have been special to him. The visual look of it, the model, etc. I mean, it's one of those situations, isn't it, where you're borrowing money off somebody who you may not know is a hardened criminal in some way and a reoffending one, and then you annoy him and then he comes looking for you. That's kind of dodgy, isn't it? Now, I don't know if the homeowners were present at the time when Jim broke in. Probably not, because surely Jim would have been reported sooner for stealing and burglary. I mean, it kind of ties in with the whole burglary thing because you look at, I don't know if it was Chase, but definitely a guy called Roberts Aviles, I think, Roberts, who was within the area, Montello, and even across Utah. He did burglaries at times, and he did know Jim in some way. But we can get into Roberts in a later video, okay? What I'm saying is there's a lot of crossovers with certain criminals with certain past history. So yeah, along with the whole storing of guns and asking for favours of other people to store them. You know, in a way, maybe those the homeowners that borrowed money off Jim are lucky because Jim could have threatened them physically, shot them. You know, they've got a gun and Jim comes along and finds it, he could just use it on him. You never know. But that wasn't the case from the looks of it, so he just wanted Don to keep hold of it. But from the way it's been stated, that Don was interviewed by the FBI and that he disclosed that information about Jim. No wonder why during the court, Don has his last name redacted just for safety purposes, I guess. You know, if it's to do with Jim. You know, I can imagine Jim not being too happy with what Don's said. You know, they should be keeping things a secret. I don't know if Jim has grasped on Don, but from the looks of it, Don has revealed stuff about Jim. So Jim, James, same person, could be pretty angry about that. And also, before I forget, a small point is the gun was surrendered into the authorities, so Don did hand it in from the looks of it. So that probably angered Jim even more after Jim going all that length and distance to get that gun in the first place, and then for his own supposed precious items to be taken from him. That's just going to anger him even more, right? So with that info between Don and Jim, the situation, the guns as well, supposedly, from what was said recently, Black Dove mentioned about another woman who's present, who knows about the case, and also knows that there is a third suspect within the whole mystery, but hasn't been named yet, the suspect. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was someone like Chase, Venstra, or maybe Roberts as well. As I said, we'll get into him in another video. You know, they seem to know one another in some way, or at least know Dylan. Whichever way, it could be a triangle effect, and so on. So, with all that in mind, okay, I just want to get into my theory now, okay, about the situation with Don and Jim and how they might have both played a part in the disappearance of Dylan and how things went. So, on the day of Dylan's disappearance, whilst the main focus has been on Jim, also known as James Brenner specifically, as the main and sole suspect, there's still the possibility there's more than one person involved, direct or indirect, and that could well be Don, because Don does know Dylan and does know Jim. With both sharing a criminal past history, maybe there is some kind of understanding, but still, there's that sense that there could be some kind of control over Don. Jim controls Don in some way, maybe physically or mentally. That presence, that aggression, maybe Don is scared of Jim and just follows orders. So on the day when Dylan disappeared, when Jim might have got revenge against Dylan, whether it be for the squatting argument, being spoken down to by a 19-year-old, or if it's financial because, Dylan had money and James may have wanted it. So James went onto the land, tried looking, got caught by Dylan, led to an argument, and then James reacted negatively and aggressively, lost control, and hurt Dylan in some way, whether it be killing him on the spot or maybe kidnapping him. Now, how does Don get involved? Well, there's different ideas. If Don is supposedly living on the land nearby, he may have seen it happen himself. He may have been in the area when it occurred. And if not that, maybe James contacted Don to come along, before or post event to help in some way. And there's a possibility Don refused and was like, no, I've got a criminal past history. I don't want to go back there again. I'm a changed person now, let's just say supposedly. And then Jim either blackmails Don, saying, yeah, but I've stored guns at your place. You've got guns now, so I'm going to report you. Or if Jim just acted aggressive and said, you know what, I'm going to physically make you follow my orders in some way. And Don gave in. That was like toxic relationship in a sense, friendship. And then Don either helped dispose of Dylan or lock him up somewhere. If we're tying in the whole chase theory, and I don't mean Chase Venstre, I mean chased Dylan, being followed by one of the suspects, running across the ground, the land, being chased in some way, like maybe Jim was trying to run after him and then Don got in a car, one of the vehicles such as Dylan's red truck, and chased him down that way, and they did it in like rotation, whilst Dylan may have been disposed of. Jim was doing something else, and then they switched around and tried to hide evidence. And you know what I'm saying, because sometimes when it comes to murders, when it comes to kidnappings, it requires more than one person to get the job done, because not everyone can multitask. So that's just my theory, the level of control Jim has over Don, and Don being involved in some way, because supposedly he has no choice. So yeah, that was one of the theories, ideas, power control. It can happen at times. I think one thing to make note of is, I don't know what Don looks like himself, his age, his build, height. He could be big, he could be tall, he could look intimidating, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how scary you look or what size you are. You can get someone much smaller than you who can be more manipulative, more controlling, more nasty, whatever it may be. Doesn't matter, anything can happen. So yeah, with that aside, that extra information about the guns supposedly being talked about, once again, more links established, not only between people that know each other, who are also criminals, but also the usage of guns, holding on to them, storing them, hiding them, whatever. There just seems to be quite a heavy focus on the usage of guns, and when it comes to the Dylan Rounds case, could be the outcome that he was shot. There was supposedly blood on Dylan's boot. Dylan must have got hurt in some way, right? Unless it was the suspect that might have got hurt when Dylan tried doing self-defense. Either way, some form of physicality and confrontation that occurred on the day. So that's it for now. You can leave a comment down below in the chat, in the comment section. Give your thoughts. Is there anything that's been missed out? Does anything need correcting? Any little additional updates? As said, you type in Don H onto YouTube. There's really no videos which specifically talk about him individually, except mine. So that's the whole purpose of these videos, to try and break it down bit by bit. So I hope you enjoyed the video. That's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.